I want to thank you all for having me here today. And I want to thank Craig and Edie and the Alzheimer's Association for asking me to speak. Craig originally asked me to speak on self-care while caregiving. And I think that it is a critically important topic, so I was happy to do so. And while we do have questions for our roundtable, there will be times when I ask you all questions, and if you have a question, if we're able to do it, please raise your hand and let me know. Okay, here's my first question for you all. What's dementia? What did you say? Aging in the brain. What else?
It's not one. It's a class of, maybe a syndrome might be a better term for it. It describes something, but it is not a specific disease like Alzheimer's.
That's correct. Does anybody else have any input as in what is dementia? I like to think of dementia as a big umbrella, and it is a syndrome, and it is a brain disorder. Dementia can be caused by anything that affects your ability to do the things that you normally do independently. Usually with changes in the things that we do that make us uniquely human, like our memory, our language, our personality, our ability to be mentally flexible, our ability to understand things with our eyes and our ears. So if there is a change or a worsening in, by textbook, at least 2 of those areas that are impacting your ability to live your life and do your thing, that is dementia. How is that different from Alzheimer's disease?
With Alzheimer's, your brain actually atrophies. So you are losing portions, important portions of your brain. So those connections between one part and another are not being made.
Right. So Alzheimer's disease is a type of dementia. And oftentimes when I'm working in memory clinic, families think that dementia is kind of a mild form of whatever's going on, and then Alzheimer's disease is at its worst. And so they're okay hearing that they've got dementia, but they're not okay hearing that they have Alzheimer's disease. It's not the case. Alzheimer's disease starts like this and builds up, and there's a critical point where kind of everybody is aware of what's going on, but it is a type of dementia. Alzheimer's disease is dementia. But you can have dementia from strokes, from medical conditions, from not getting enough oxygen to the brain. Alzheimer's disease is a specific disease that always affects memory because that's where the disease starts in the brain. But it is a type of dementia. Does anyone have questions about that?
I do.
Go ahead.
It's about the dementia. So did you say that if a person loses their sight, for example, and their hearing, they're more prone to have dementia? Does it age? Is that age connected also?
Yeah, so thank you for that. Sometimes with dementia, people lose their ability to process information with their eyes or process information with their ears, and it's different from losing your hearing or being blind. It's a brain disorder.
Okay.
That being said, if someone does have a dementia and then loses other senses like hearing and vision or their ability to feel their feet on the ground, it can make those symptoms worse because they're losing their ability to compensate for the areas in their brain that they're having difficulty with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So when you said that Alzheimer's is a type of dementia, so what makes it categorized by itself as opposed to just being dementia?
Because there are many types of dementia. You can have dementia from having a stroke. There are some medical conditions that if you live with them long enough, you'll develop a dementia, like Parkinson's disease. There are other types of dementia. And so, does that answer your question? So Alzheimer's disease, when you are diagnosed with it, you not only have memory, language, personality problems, but you need assistance doing things like shopping, cooking, cleaning, paying bills, and that is what makes it a dementia. Right. So his question is, when do you get the diagnosis of dementia versus Alzheimer's? That's a good question. I'll answer it in my talk.
So what's the biophysical difference between dementia and Alzheimer's?
Dementia is a syndrome. It's a constellation of symptoms and functional decline.
What's the line?
It depends. Anything could be going on with dementia. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm very sorry. I would think of it as an umbrella term. I'm going to stop taking questions just for a second, and hopefully I'll be able to elucidate some of these answers during my talk. In the African American community, we are basically 2 times as likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. And so it's critical that we recognize these symptoms and be aware of it so that we can handle it and take care of it. The medical conditions that afflict the African American community are also the medical conditions that put you at highest risk for developing Alzheimer's disease in the future. High blood pressure, diabetes, elevated cholesterol. In the African American community, we take care of our families. Usually, our family members that develop memory problems or cognitive problems or dementia of any kind, they tend to age in place for a variety of reasons. One of it is because just culturally, we take care of our family members. But we're also more susceptible to that care because we typically do not place our family members in nursing homes or assisted living, that the caregivers that are taking care of us tend to have more of a burden than people in other ethnic and socioeconomic groups. So what is caregiving? This is the basic definition of it. I had some thoughts driving up here from San Jose this morning. For me, I think caregiving, like in my family, is just being family, being a family member. We take care of our people, our older people. We take care of our children. We take care of our family, but putting a name to it, specifically for people with dementia, it allows us to have that commonality with other people who are also caregivers. It allows you guys to come to things like this, where we're talking about self-care and caregiving. You're like, oh, that's me, I'm going. This is my family. That's me, my mom, my son, and that's Hazel. We're going to talk about Hazel a little bit in the next 40 minutes or so. Hazel is my grandmother. She's going to be 94 next Monday. And she has Alzheimer's disease. This was in church a year ago on a Sunday that happened to be her 93rd birthday. So we got up and took Hazel to church. And it took all 3 of us to get her there. Hazel is a staunchly independent woman. She has always been strong-minded. She is a feminist. She has burned through husbands because she doesn't tolerate shenanigans of any kind. And so when Hazel started developing problems, like we often do, we tended to normalize the things that she was doing. Me being in the field that I'm in, I recognized things before other people in the family did. And the first thing I noticed about Hazel is that her judgment was a little off. It wasn't a memory problem. And this was before she had dementia. But she was just doing things that weren't typical for her. Like, she couldn't remember to use her cell phone when she was in a bind. So she spent a lot of time trying to solve a problem instead of picking up her cell phone. She would write checks repeatedly to pay bills, and they would get there or not get there. Or they would be late, and she'd get a late notice and pay a bill again. And then she'd deplete her account. So then other checks started bouncing. She, one holiday season, felt like she needed to get C's candy certificates for everyone in her Claude Jolly Circle, which is a deacon circle at church. But then her mortgage payment bounced because she didn't recognize that she didn't have the money in her checkbook to buy C's candy for everybody. She started having minor fender benders that we didn't know about until one day I went over to her house and saw a strange car in her driveway. And I said, "What is this?" And it was a car rental, because she had gotten into an accident, got it repaired, then got into another accident. When I was in Rhode Island, I would speak to her on the phone, and she told me that she had driven up the wrong way on a freeway off-ramp. And that someone stopped her. And this was 10 years before she was diagnosed with dementia. Hazel, being the person she is, was very sneaky about her deficits and covering them up because she didn't want any of us to know. And I'm speaking to that today because it caused a lot of stress in the family, even before this woman had a diagnosis of a cognitive disorder or dementia. So even life leading up to a diagnosis can be stressful for a caregiver or a family. So, for someone who's caregiving, a day in the life, and these are, oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stay away. Can you guys still see me? Still see this?
Yes.
Okay. These were just the ones that I was thinking about. But there's cooking, cleaning, bill paying for the other person, doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, getting clothes, eating, that's meal preparation. Sometimes it's actually feeding, bathing, exercises, transportation, senior center, going to church, socializing. It is a part-time to a full-time job. And it's 24/7. It's like parenting. It doesn't turn off. There's a lot. And I also think in the African American community, we have such a capacity to tolerate so much that oftentimes when we hear caregiver stress, it's really when someone is at their breaking point where they can't take it any longer. We have this capacity to tolerate stress and challenges and obstacles. Like, that's kind of who we are as a people. And so we don't take time to recognize, like, this is something that maybe I could be taken care of, or maybe I need more information about, or I need more support. So self-care. How many of you have heard that term? How many of you practice self-care? Good. So can you imagine spending as much time on yourself as the time that you spend caring for someone else?
There's not enough time.
That's even inconceivable for me. There's no way. What are some of the barriers that you all have for taking time for yourself?
Not enough time?
Time, right?
I think also you think that because you take care of others and not yourself, you understand when they may not understand. You know you when you're trying to provide for someone else and you make that sacrifice.
Right, right. What are some other barriers? Right, that it's selfish and feeling guilty. Mhm. Right. I will. So she said that even when she takes time for herself, she's spending her time worrying about her mom. So even the time that she has off, she's not enjoying it. And just feeling tired. Like when you have time for yourself, you're just tired.
One of the problems that I have is when I do try to take time for myself, like go to a movie or visit friends or something, my mother has a tendency to call me. And she'll call me and say, when are you coming home?
Right.
Will you stop and do this? I need you to do that.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm going, okay, I thought this was my time.
Right.
You know, so I get a lot of interruptions so that I can't really enjoy my time
Right.
of being
It's-
myself.
Yeah, it can be very hard to set boundaries with people that have lost their filter, where they feel like, I'm the matriarch or patriarch in this family, so even though you're asking me to do this, I can do what I want. It's challenging. Right,
So my people, even though I'm not family, they consider me family.
right,
They call me all the time.
Right.
Maybe not, don't matter, it means it doesn't matter. But them, something,
right. It's hard. So I want to talk about the moments that we can take and that we do take. But first I'm going to talk about this. There was a study in the journal Dementia in 2002 that looked at this duality of respect that I had talked about a little bit. They spoke with African American family caregivers of people with dementia, and they found that, like I had mentioned with my grandmother, we normalize changes that are happening with people out of our respect for them. But when it gets to a point where their physician notices something or something's going on that you say, we need to figure out what this is, that when they hit the medical system, they find a general lack of respect from providers. And so we know about that as well. And so it creates this unique tension or specific caregiver stress in the African American community where you know something is going on, you need help, but the system around you is normalizing it in a way where you don't need it to be normalized. Or they're minimizing it as saying, this is just old age. Or there have been many times when I've seen people where their primary care doctor has said, they don't need to come to memory clinic because they're 90. What's the point? Challenges. So it takes a village. Sometimes caring for someone, and we're going to be talking about the behaviors related to dementia next, with what I like to call sassiness, can be very isolating. Someone is wandering away or making inappropriate comments about strangers that they see in the market, like Hazel often does, or she likes to go to hometown buffet and fill up her purse with everything. So when you think about taking a Sunday outing and you're not feeling well, you may stay home or you may not do it. And so then you lose your village. You lose the 2 employees at Hometown Buffet who see Hazel in there regularly and bring her containers so she's not filling up her purse. But we have to utilize this village, sometimes voluntarily, sometimes not, because it helps us be better caregivers at taking care of people. And one of the stigmas of Alzheimer's disease is that people don't want to hear the A word. People hear that you have Alzheimer's disease and they think this person is dying. Back away. That is a time when I say it's okay to use dementia. Until we get through this stigma of Alzheimer's disease, you can say, my mom has dementia, Hazel has dementia. Hazel at Christmas or Thanksgiving sits at the table and says, they say I have dementia. But you have to utilize the people in your circle and in your world, and in their circle and in their world, and normalize it.
So what happens when that person runs away the village?
Right.
And that's the tough part.
It is.
My mother doesn't live here, and so I receive phone calls, or she lives in Fresno, so I'm running back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of people, from the people she used to work with, to the church members, to her relatives,
Right.
who have basically given up.
Yeah.
And it's tough.
Yeah.
So how do we deal with that?
That's a very good question, and not an easy, one-sentence solution. And there are people who will fire caregivers, will burn through caregivers, where agencies say, we're not coming to take care of this person, we're not sending anybody else out. It is hard to find people who are mindful and aware and are armed with taking care of people who have hard personalities or have frank behavioral problems. It can be expensive to find those people, which is another challenge. There are many different things that you can set up, like having a different person on each day, which, depending on how impaired the care receiver is, can be confusing for them. But having a cohort of caregivers that you can rotate in and out so that they don't burn out is one thing. But again, that takes time and effort and money if it's not family members or church members that are doing it. It can be challenging. I saw a question way in the back. Is that?
Early on, when the person with, say, dementia is diagnosed,
Yeah.
or even Alzheimer's is diagnosed, but the person still has
Yeah.
capacity to understand.
Right.
Should one talk to them directly, frankly, about the situation and maybe get some ideas about how they would like to be cared down the road?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are different, people have different opinions about it. Individuals have different opinions about it, and there are different cultures and different families. But in general, it is always best to talk about it and to plan. Because with Alzheimer's disease, you oftentimes don't know what's coming next.
We have a question right here.
Hi.
Hi.
Have you ever heard of people sharing caregivers?
Yes.
Like, can you share examples of?
Yeah, so we have people that can't afford a full-time caregiver, so they'll partner with another family. And they will have the 2 individuals with dementia spend time at each other's houses. So it's one caregiver to 2 people, and they split the cost.
If you have, well, like my mother.
Who's speaking? Okay, thank you.
My mother has lost a limb. And so since she has lost the limb, it's sort of like she can't think for herself. Well, she can think for herself, and she still writes her bills and does everything for herself, but it's like, well, I need somebody here with me to do this. I need somebody here to do that. I can't take a bath by myself. I can't. Is that kind of a form of dementia because she's not performing anymore since she's lost this one, her limb?
Well, she's asking for help. She's fearful about doing those things by herself, and she wants to make sure that she's doing everything the way she's supposed to. Is that it? Or that she cannot do it?
She can do it. She just won't. I mean, it's like, she says, I can't go in the kitchen and fix my own meal. Well, I came home one day because I still have to work. And she's in the kitchen and she's cooking her a meal.
Right.
But the minute I hit the door, it's like, I can't do this, I can't do that, and she loses her filter.
Would you hold that for a second? So, that is common in dementia, but I don't think that is maybe what's going on with your mom. There are many times where people with dementia, when they have someone there, become less functional than they would be on their own or when they're prompted to do it on their own. And this fearfulness of being by themselves is very common, just in older people. I'm going to go through these slides a little quickly because there's some exercises that I want us to do before my time is up. We talked about these. Caregivers are reluctant to give time off. They feel like even a short period of time isn't enough time, so it's not worth it to take it. Some caregivers feel like no one can give care like they do, so they're the ones that need to do it. And they feel like bringing a new caregiver, they won't do the job that they can do. And sometimes when you do get someone into a routine and you change it up, and you come back home, they are a little worse, like behaviorally or emotionally than you left. And it will make it a little harder in the end, but I guarantee you that time off for yourself is going to be worth it in the long run. Caregivers have an exquisitely high rate of depression. They stop going to the doctor. They stop taking care of themselves. They have stomach issues like heartburn. They don't sleep as well. They're at a higher rate for heart attack. They actually are at a higher rate for dying younger than those that aren't caregivers. These are specifically caregivers for people with dementia. Have to take care of yourself. And so that,
there was a question.
Go ahead.
Quick question. When you refer to caregivers, good morning, everyone.
Hello?
Hello?
When you're referring to caregivers, are you referring to outside agencies or are you referring to family? Because it seems like family caregivers, it would be double as far as the
It's
stress.
family caregivers. It's family caregivers.
Thank you.
And so that's impacted by the care recipient's behavioral problems, if there are behavioral problems, the level of cognitive impairment, their level of functionality, the duration that one individual has been caring for someone. And so we know that our people we as a people are living longer. We're recognizing Alzheimer's disease and dementia earlier. People are living longer with Alzheimer's disease. Caregiving time is longer. And the specific relationship that you have, if it's partner, spouse, child, parent, That intensifies this susceptibility to caregiver stress. Females, women tend to be more affected by this than men, and I'm sure you can imagine for a variety of reasons. We stereotypically are innate caregivers. We carry the burden, we take care of everything, we hold stuff in. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Yes. You know, they say on the airplane to put your mask on first before you put on your kids. You guys know why they say that? Right. You're passing out while you're putting your kid's mask on, then no one has their mask on. Give me 1 minute. I'll give you 1 second. We have to do that first. The family member that you're caring for isn't going to change in a day, a week, a month, 2 months. Their emotions, their behaviors, their feelings, their cognitive status isn't going to change. What you're dealing with today, you're going to be dealing with tomorrow and next week. It's okay to take some time. 7 years from now, it's okay to take some time for yourself. You have to do this because if you don't, as time goes on, you will be a less effective caregiver, and then nobody's happy. What is your question?
From the previous slide that you had, are there any handouts that you have, or are you just supposed to take notes for the entire day?
I don't have handouts.
We can get you the handouts. Just make a note, if anyone would like for the presentation, we can email it to you. Just make a note on your evaluation.
All right, thank you.
So it's important, and this also takes time, give me 1 minute, to educate yourself about dementia and what may be coming next. Being blindsided by something that you weren't aware of can make things worse, and it takes time to do that. The Alzheimer's Association's website, their caregiver website, is actually excellent. You can put in their search tab anything that you're dealing with, and there will be something that pops up. And even if nothing pops up, you can call their 800 number. This isn't the complete list of resources, but how many of you have heard about the 36-hour day? I like to think of it as an encyclopedia for caregiving. There's the Caregivers Action Association and your memory clinic, or if you have a geriatrics or senior health clinic. If you are 65, 70 or older, your primary care doctor should be someone who is specialized in geriatrics, if you have that available to you. You have to find what works for you. It's imperative. Everyone's thing for self-care, relaxation, checking out, getting away is going to be different. You have to find what works for you. We talked about this. So for your body, make sure you have your routine checkups. Get your mammogram. Get your blood pressure checked. Exercise regularly. Eat well. I put yoga, meditation. You can do whatever you want. It needs to be enjoyable to you. If it's not going to help you very much. So don't get on a treadmill if you hate treadmills. So music is a great reliever of stress. We all love it. Music also brings up memories, thoughts, and emotions from the time that you first heard that song. That can be very wonderful. Have you guys seen this YouTube video? No. This makes me laugh. Do you have it, Craig? Okay. We'll just watch a little bit of it. I want to be that guy. You have to find your happiness. He's like, this is so good, I have to throw away my pain.
I want to see that. Go on there.
So I also wanted to talk about mindfulness. I think I'm going to hold questions to the round table going forward, if that's okay. Can we go to the, oh, I have it. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I have it. Our mind. Does anybody here meditate? Meditation is fantastic if you can do it. I try it frequently. I feel like I've not yet gotten into a meditative state, but there are so many benefits to meditation. It reduces stress, it increases your immune system, it improves concentration, happiness, it slows aging. It helps your heart and your brain, and there is science behind it. There's an entire department at MIT dedicated to the science behind meditation. It is fantastic. The very first time I tried to be quiet mindfully, I freaked out because there's so much going on. So the first time you all try it, don't freak out and give up on it, because it takes time to quiet your brain, and you can do it anywhere. You can do it while your family member is in the room next door screaming for cookies. Oh, can we do the next one? So I want to do this exercise that I just found this past fall. It's called 1 minute meditation. So we'll do this together. This is a short video about 1 minute meditation. But if you can just do it for a minute, it'll go a long way.
Since you're watching this video, I'll bet you want to meditate but don't have time. Maybe you've tried to meditate but had some trouble. Maybe you had a wonderful experience meditating over there, but just can't find that same feeling over here. Well, my name is Marty Borison, and in this video I'm going to introduce you to the technique of 1 moment meditation. Then you can meditate whenever you need to. Like when you're feeling stressed, or feeling angry. Maybe you're having trouble sleeping, or you're feeling anxious, or you just need a new idea. Although 1 moment meditation is ultimately about meditating in a moment, we're going to start with a minute. We start with a minute because a moment goes by so quickly that it's very hard to notice. But a minute is like a moment with handles on it. You know where it begins and where it ends, so it's easier to grasp. If you're ready, we'll do the basic minute now. You might want to shut the door, or at least tell people you're not available for the next minute.
Not available.
You don't have to tie yourself in knots for this. Just sit with your legs planted firmly on the floor. Try to sit up straight, but don't be rigid. It's as if your head were being lifted up away from the weight of the world. Think of it as cosmic traction. Now put your hands in any position that's balanced, symmetrical, and still. Like this, or like this. During the minute, simply focus on your breathing, moment by moment. Of course, even in the space of a minute, you will get distracted. That's perfectly normal. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. But as soon as you notice that you're distracted, just think, and bring your mind back to your breathing. I'll ring a bell so you know when to start and when to finish. Ready? Then close your eyes. Oh, one more thing. It's okay to smile. And go. As you open your eyes, notice how you feel right now. Maybe a little bit refreshed, a little bit more awake, a little bit more open-minded.
How was it?
Nice.
It felt like a long time? Yeah. It was just a minute. But even if you did that one time a day, it's just a minute. It slows aging. I was like, this is good. So, there's this precursor to meditation that is mindfulness. And mindfulness is just being present and aware and in the moment. And there are these programs called mindfulness-based stress reduction that helps reduce physical and mental stress by teaching you coping skills and techniques. It's usually offered, if it's not like private in the community, a lot of larger healthcare systems offer it, like Kaiser does and Palo Alto Medical Foundation does. And they're complements to yoga, tai chi, and qigong. Those are pictures of yoga, tai chi, and qigong. I want to be able to do that one day. So me being in Silicon Valley, I was looking to see if there are apps for caregiver stress, and there are many of them. These two looked friendly. I'm not endorsing any of them, but those two are also free, I think. The virtual Hope Box might be 99 cents, but you may want to check them out. Our spirit is very important. So it's mind, body, and spirit, spirituality, religion, faith. So if you have that, it's important to stay connected to it. You cannot have one without the other. If our body breaks down, our mind and spirit breaks down. If our spirit breaks down, our mind and body breaks down.
Right.
Having that triad is of utmost importance, and it is of utmost importance for us now, in this moment. Journaling is also a way to have some quiet time for yourself and your thoughts. You can put your angry thoughts in that journal, and no one will read them. And the challenges that you have. I use my journal to write down things that I would never want anybody to hear. And I told my sister that if anything unexpected happens to me, she's got to go to my house and take my journals and get rid of them. And don't read them. It's very helpful. Like, people ask me how I get through and do all the things that I do, why I'm not on crack or drinking. It's because I journal. So, spouses who are caregivers have a very special and challenging role. And I should have a slide for parent-child relationships as well. We'll talk about that in a second. It's very hard to be a spouse or a partner and now a caregiver, because you really just want to be their spouse. But now you're the decision maker, and you're telling that person they can do this or they can't. Or you have to realize that the things that you two did together, that you now may have to do alone because he or she can't participate in that discussion or decision making. It's very hard. And so for spouses and partners who are caregivers, it's important to have that support and network as well. And even for children who are taking care of parents, it's hard to flip that switch and to go into the parent role. It's very hard, but you have to do it sometimes. My mom was telling me that her brother had referred to her as the warden when it comes to taking care of Hazel, and that stuck in Hazel's head, and so now Hazel calls my mom the warden. So this is my last slide, I think, and this is really, really, really important, and we don't talk about it a lot, and I know that doctors tend not to talk about it. But when you are living with someone with dementia who is changing over time, things happen just like they happen to anyone. They can get sick, need to be hospitalized. It is of utmost importance that we talk with our family members about their wants, wishes, who they want to be their decision maker, so that 3 years from now, 5 years from now, tomorrow, when you're in the thick of it, you've already had that conversation, and so you're not wrestling with what would dad have wanted in this situation, or you're not fighting between 5 family members because you've already had that conversation and dad would have wanted this. It makes life a lot easier, whether you have it officially on paper or not, although I recommend having it officially on paper, to have those conversations. Have you ever thought about who you want to make decisions for you when you can't? That's never going to happen. Well, what if it does happen? Who do you want to make those decisions for you? I have family members that don't want to have that conversation because they think if you talk about it, that something bad is going to happen to them. You have to talk about it. Even I have conversations all the time in memory clinic for people like my grandmother, who's very independent. Have you ever thought how you want to live in the event that you can't live by yourself anymore? I'll always be able to live by myself. What if you can't? What if you had a stroke? You don't have to say because of dementia. You could say for anything. People have to have those conversations so that you have a sense of what they would have wanted. Whether you're able to provide that for them or not is another story. But it is important to have those discussions about what people will want. And later down the road, if you've had it, it makes taking care of them and their health care and their life decisions much easier. I guarantee you. It's much less stressful, much less family strife, much less fretfulness at the hospital bedside. So we talked a lot about caregiver stress, and I don't want to walk away from this and you guys think, man, this is hard, this is terrible, I'm gonna die. There are just wonderful things to caregiving, and I want to thank all of you for doing it because it is fantastic and fulfilling. I think spending time with my grandmother in these stages of her life and getting to know things about her is something that I will always treasure. But people who are caregivers feel better. They feel better about themselves. You receive gratitude not only from your care receiver, but maybe those other family members that don't want anything to do with it, or do but can't. And there tends to be a deeper connection with family. So there are many benefits to caregiving. So I want to thank you all for doing it. I don't think that we have time for questions, but thank you very much. We'll have questions later. Oh, I have a summary. This is just what we talked about. Educate yourself. Communication classes for people, like how to communicate with someone with dementia will go a long way. Put your mask on first, have fun, be smart and savvy. I sometimes think taking care of someone with Alzheimer's disease is like playing chess. You gotta figure out 2 or 3 moves ahead what's gonna happen. Thank you.